Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday the 19th. I hope you're all well. And I've been boondocking for a couple months and been homeless over a year. And this morning, I'm going to engage in some more ambitious projects because it's a weekday and I don't have to feel like I got to be on the down low. Um, anyway, when I first woke up, I got some texts, a couple texts, really encouraging, just more support, and I appreciate it. Um, and there seems to be this vibe across the board that people think that something positive is going to turn out for me, and I certainly am trying to manifest that for myself. Um, on that note, I had internet when I first woke up, and I got 2 emails from jobs I don't know what they were or when I applied, but they were rejections. And since I've been out here, I've still been occasionally throwing an application here and there, and I've called the local places. So yeah, and last year looking for work was my full-time job, and it got me nowhere, like nowhere. um and I did get a couple jobs. My friends that were letting me stay on their property for $400+ a month, um uh they led me to a couple jobs, and the 2 bar jobs totally overwhelmed me. My anxiety just me as a person is just not my thing. Not anymore. And then I got a pizza job, which was part-time, really lousy pay. And I struggled at first with that because it was a pretty crazy place. And there's some pretty crazy people that work there that shouldn't work anywhere. But anyway, did great at the work. But then my part-time job got so part-time that biking 24 miles a day and being homeless, it just wasn't making sense, especially with winter approaching. Like, and I still kick myself for losing that job or quitting that job, but there's a lot. And trying to stay focused here. But last year, despite everybody saying what a bum and being lazy, I worked 7 months of the year. And I was still struggling because it's really expensive to be homeless. It really is. It's no joke. And I give props to people who are homeless in the cities because there's no access to bathrooms, there's no access to water. Most places don't have food for squat. And, most of the public places, because of one reason or another, they're no longer places where you can sit or even warm up. Which leads me to this next thing. I put a video at the end of this because it really hits home. And before I ended up homeless, I was definitely having some. I've been having some issues the last couple of years, mental health issues, and losing my place and knowing that it was all going to hell really didn't put. My reaction was not healthy. But I called 211. I got the generic list. I went through all those paces, and everybody had an excuse, a loophole, or a catch to not help me prevent my homelessness. And then when I ended up homeless, you start going through the list and then start calling every church, nonprofit, and whatever that deals with housing homelessness or whatever. It was ridiculous. A couple of the churches said, "What do you think we are, a charity?" And the nonprofits, I even had a couple of the people spell this out for me. But the one place, this guy went through the whole thing. I was really frustrated with him because he explains to me that, well, we don't really have those kinds of services. We do these luncheons and we do these fundraisers these 2 times a month, and then that money is to go towards the next fundraiser, keep the lights on, and the administrative costs. Do you hear anything about services for the homeless in that? No, because the cycle is they raise money to have fundraisers, to raise money to pay the administrative costs and keep the lights on, and to do the next fundraiser. So that, you know what I mean? And like, there's nowhere in there where anybody's being helped because all those places are being run like businesses now. They're nonprofits, so they are taxed differently, and they call profits a different word. But make no mistake, all of that money is being funneled up instead of being funneled out. And the more religious the organization, the more the hypocrisy, the bigotry, it just, whatever. Any excuse not to help people, to look down on them, to marginalize, villainize, and criminalize being poor and not meeting the expectations or the paywalls that they've set up to exist in society. These are the consequences, not just of life choices, but now of not being able to afford the right to exist, unless you're sitting behind bars and doing work for free. And the people who have been marginalized and forced into these impoverished welfare systems are the ones who most adamantly voted against their own best interests. And now everybody gets to feel the brunt of that, because more and more of us are now becoming homeless and finding out what I already know. The very lifelines that exist are now all torn apart. What was the point of that? So here's this guy, and he's posting this video that was forwarded to me, by the way. He's living in his car. He's in California. He's tried to get on the list for housing. It's 18 years long there. 18. The list here in Michigan, one was 1 to 2 years, but I didn't qualify for that at all. The other one was 3 to 5 years, and I was ineligible, but there's also a work requirement. You have to be working 20 hours or more to get that, to be on that list. And I was least priority. Thanks to Governor Grant, or whoever, or Gretchen, whatever the stupid person who is our Democratic, supposed to be on our side person, they put a work requirement on food stamps too. So you got to be making 20 hours. Yep. So, or getting unemployment, or taking care of a dependent. Isn't that crazy? So, meet the paywall or starve. Right? So they want to know where the $30 billion went. It's pretty simple. I talked to several nonprofits, and the one that led me to the housing list. But again, they do the cycle. And here's Gavin Newsom throwing this money through the channels, the outlets, and the systems and organizations that are already in place that claim to do all these services and be resources for people. And all they did was absorb the money. That's it. You know, they got a CFO, CEO, pastor, whatever, that's making an absorbent amount of money, and they could cut all those salaries in half and feed the bottom. But so could corporations, so could our government. But, you know, here we are. And everybody's always going to make that excuse to, there'll always be the handful of real spiritual, whatever your faith is, you know, commitment to being part of the community and not ostracizing and doing the whole thing against people, but trying to embrace people and welcome people and restore people, and, you know. And again, I give it to people who are on the streets, because there's nothing out there. Nothing. And it's dangerous. So, that's my soapbox, my little backstory. And here's this video of this guy who's just recently starting the journey that I started on over a year ago. And until my next update, stay safe.
$30 billion has been spent over the last few years in California to combat homelessness. Yet when I called to get help because I'm homeless living here in my car, I was told, sorry, the most we can do is put you on a waiting list. That waiting list is 18 years long. So this is where I live. So I ask though, where did all that money go? Where did $30 billion go? Yet there's now more people homeless in California, either on the streets or homeless living in their cars, than there was just a couple years ago. So where did the money go?